was really contemplating whether I stand or it's okay like this. I know there's some guys, I don't know if this is better. I can sit down. Oh, okay, no, thank you. Yeah, so welcome. So you recall, I think, the very first engagement that we had, we spoke to you about the need to make Zida better known to the media in terms of what we do. So we had that function a few months ago at the venue in Avondale, and they were also talking about the first publication of our quarterly report. For us, the quarterly report really summarizes all that we're doing here, and hopefully in there you will see that the interest for foreigners in particular to invest in Zimbabwe is still quite strong, and we do demonstrate that in the third quarter. There were worries obviously that with the elections there might be a slowdown in investments, but as you see from the numbers for the quarter, and August really is right in the middle of third quarter, we didn't see much of a slowdown. So today again is the publication of our third quarter report, and it's in keeping, like I said, with what we promised you back in April, I think it was back then. And so we'll just take you through the highlights of it. Feel free, I know you were given copies of this a few minutes ago, so you may not have time to interrogate that. But what's important in us doing this sort of briefing is that we also want to explain numbers. So when we speak of investments, I know that the statistics are all over the place. So if you go to the Reserve Bank, you go to UN, you go to UNCTAD, you go to our own official statistics, you get different numbers. So we want to just make it clear what we mean by the investments that we see, so that when you look at them, I think they do make sense to you, because you can only interpret something if you really understand what it means and what it stands for. So I think that's really one thing that we want to emphasize, and also take the opportunity for you to even better understand and know the sort of work that we're doing here at Zida. So as you can see from the summary there, we do talk of licensing, we do talk of, so we've got licensing, and then our key achievements, as well as the collaborations in the year. So in terms of licensing, the process, I think we took you through that. It really starts, so the way we are set up is that we've got various departments that focus on specific issues as far as attracting the investment. So it starts obviously with the environment that we operate in. So for that, we champion our legal department to ensure that whatever investors are finding of difficulty, be it in the environment or in the legislative environment, they champion that for us. And also the interaction of the feedback that we get from our investors on certain statutes or the way things are being done in the country. So they generally take a lead on that. So the legal department, essentially, we champion them to smoothen or to make better the environments the investors find themselves in. And then obviously we have to identify what these opportunities are. So you were introduced earlier on to Taurai, he works in that department, and essentially they develop opportunities for investors to then take up. And in so doing, we then have something to take out both locally and internationally to show investors, and that's what Silvester and their team does. So, and then once we've really, an investor is keen on actually doing an investment, we then have our operations department there downstairs on the first floor. So the process then normally starts with inquiries, and we do even record the inquiries that we get. These are just people, maybe they've seen an article in the press and they pick up the phone or send an email to us. So we do record that, but we've not shown that in the, I think the report here. But what you will see first and foremost are the applications. And the applications is investors who've made an attempt to try and obtain a Zida license. Right? So that's the first, so those ones you will see in this report. And then we also have the number of applications themselves. So, or licenses issued. So these are investors who've actually gone through the entire process of actually filling out a form, paying our license fees, and actually registering with us as an investor, and they're issued with a license. the license is valid, it's renewable after 2 years, right? And so I'll explain some of the things as we go on. But after the 2 years, when an investor seeks a renewal, that's when we normally really do an intensive or extensive rather interrogation of what they've actually done. So we find out at that point how much money they've brought into the country, how many jobs they've created. So we do also record the number of investors whose licenses were due for renewal and were renewed during the quarter. So that's another statistic that you'll see. So this one just summarizes, I guess, we'll go into a little bit more detail later on. So here we're just looking at just the year-to-date, by sector. So you'll see there that I think mining for us has been the key, I think, investment. So the key sector where investors have gone into, you are talking of number of investors who were licensed during the year in that sector, 216. So just under half of all the licenses that we had. And I think that slide just also speaks to about the split between what foreigners say they will bring in and what their local partners say they will bring in. You will find that in a lot of investments that we do see, there is a bit of local component to it. Some investors obviously come fully fledged foreigners and they don't need any local participation. But as you see there that quite a number of investments do come with a local component. So, just go to the next one. Yeah. So, So on this third quarter highlights here, so these are the things I was talking about earlier. So we're looking at the number of new licenses issued. I said at the beginning that we were in an election period and there was a bit of resistance. I guess the mood was that let's wait and see, let's see these elections, and after that perhaps we'll then do something about it. But the number of licenses that we issued in the third quarter, 180, is actually higher than all the other, so the 2 quarters before that. Another statistic that's important for us is the total projected investment value. So I said earlier on that there are statistics all over the place. So if you go to the Reserve Bank for FDI, if you go to the official statistics, to the UN figure, to the World Bank, they'll say all different figures. So for us, when we say total projected investment value, of those 180 investors that we issued licenses to, when they come here and apply for that license, they complete there's a section on our form where we ask them how much that investment is going to be. So the 3.4 billion speaks to what they said their investments are going to be. Obviously, at that point, it's an intention. That's what they want to do. It might not necessarily end up being that. But for us, I think it's an indication of the size of investments that we see. The application process also does filter out, or rather weed out, where we think that things are being exaggerated. So again, it's not a simple case of just filling out a form. And we know now pretty much what a prospecting project for the lithium roughly is going to cost, what the solar project is going to cost. So that intention is very important at that stage to know about how much it is. Obviously, when it comes to the actual that the investors bring in, that we then verify. Just go back there. So, and then again, the breakdown of that 180. So we're now looking for this quarter. And you see there that energy, we have 2 very big projects there in solar. The intended investment value there is about 2.8 billion, so that sort of skewed things a little bit. Generally for us, I think mining is the more dominant, and a lot of investments goes into mining. We all appreciate that mining is quite capital intensive. Even the prospecting of it as well is quite costly. So that's the breakdown there. And so just to note that energy, those two big solar projects, if they do pan out, it will be great for the country, as we are currently experiencing some serious deficit of energy. Also to note there is that manufacturing for manufacturing is also quite key. We do speak of those value chains and value addition and so forth. So it's also important to note that manufacturing is drawing quite a lot of interest from our investors. And then, so the renewed licenses were 126, meaning that during that quarter of investors whose licenses have reached the 2 years and will now be renewed, we are 106. And when we did the assessments and the verifications, those 126 had actually brought in investments worth $207 million. So you're talking roughly investments that came in 2021, and the verification was then done at that stage. The system that we've employed now, we should be able by the beginning of next year to establish real time as investors actually bring in their money. So the $3.4 billion from the day that we issue a license, we should be able to track real time as investors actually bring in this money. So, but right now we believe that the stats are not, they're just all over the place. And once we've really got a handle of that, we'll start showing them as well. And then, so I think just in a bit more detail, the actual sectors themselves. So mining, the licenses were 86 that were issued in the quarter with $411 million. And then there's that energy park, the new Eagle Industrial Park. That's one of the investments that contributed to that big figure in energy, and it's in Mapinga. And then so I think that one big project, 2.3, contributed mostly to that $2.8 billion in the energy sector. And then for us also devolution is it's very important. We do take cognizance of the need to spread the investments across the country. Obviously, if you're going to develop in this excellent way it says that leave no one behind or no place behind, we also like to show that in the figures we got there. So that slide just shows you, for the quarter again this is from the 1st of July to the 30th of September, the number of licenses issued and the projected investment value per province. Harare, obviously being the commercial center of the country, had the most number of licenses issued at 99. In terms of worth of that $3.4 billion, about 657. Much ways, obviously, where that big energy project is, has the 2.3 billion. So obviously for us, it's something that we also say that we would like pretty much all the provinces to have a sort of even distribution of where these investments are scattered. So Mad South is currently growing the least at 3, and even in terms of value as well, at 9.95. So we do work actively with the provinces, even through our matchmaking platforms and just day-to-day interaction. We do try and assist all the provinces packaging or rather identifying investment opportunities and taking these to investors. Next time. Also of interest is where this money is coming from. So I think since the beginning of the year, we've seen this sort of distribution by source market. So China has the most number of investors that we do license at 121 for the quarter. That really dwarfs everything else, or rather all the other sources. Even that big energy project is also the investors are from China. And we also have, so second to that is the UAE. which we are proud of because we have spent, as Zida, considerable time and effort attracting investments from that region. So we are happy that our efforts are bearing fruit. Local investments not we have done, it's also good to see that our own investors here in Zimbabwe have heeded the call to invest, or they are identifying these opportunities. I just want to make a note on this one, is that in this country, you don't have to have a Zida license to invest in this country. So a lot of businesses that operate here, that really contribute to really are the engines of our economy, are not licensed or registered with Zida. So we only record what comes through here. It's something that we are trying to change. As you'll see in the report, we do have collaborations with CZIs and ZNCCs and so forth. We believe that maybe something that local investors or businesses have not realized, but we believe there is value in being associated with Zida, and we can play a part. Just like we assist foreign investors, we can also do the same for the local investors. So those are the top, top 7. But in the quarterly, in more detail, we do show where all this, the investments are coming from. And the number of investments that we do have, keeps growing. Yeah. So you're going way ahead there. Oh, we're not controlling that. Oh, okay. Okay, let me just go back. I think we'll skip a few slides there. Yes. Yeah. So I spoke about the key collaborations there, and we have now quite a number, but this quarter in particular, we take note of ZNCC. It's something that we have been working with them since the beginning of the year, in the central bank. This was just formalizing something that was already in place. So it's more than an MOU with the central bank. With the central bank, obviously, is interested in FDI flows, and the agreement that we have, essentially, the two of us will work closer in really confirming or verifying exactly how much in terms of US dollars and even capital equipment and loans are coming to the country. CBZ there is a private bank, and it's something that we are seeing more and more of. Private players are recognizing the need, or rather the importance of associating with Zida. CBZ in particular, when we went to Australia for the Africa Down Under, they were our collaborating partners. So we went there with them, and when we launched our matchmaking platform in mining in Australia, they were there with us. What you'll see in fourth quarter, certainly, we are actually finalizing a couple of more MOUs with private players who are recognizing again the importance or the value of having such a tie-up with Zida. Okay. And then in terms of our staff, so we have been growing. So the bottom numbers there are our seconded colleagues from the various institutions. So you may be aware that we do have a one-stop investment services center. Essentially, this allows an investor to access, to access all the services of key government and agency services here. So, for example, we've got someone from Exchange Control from the Reserve Bank, someone from Zimbabwe, someone from NASA, Immigration, Minister of Mines, Minister of ZTA, etc. So in quarter one, we had 19 such seconded personnel. In quarter two, that went up to 17. In quarter three, it's still stayed at 17. It doesn't, however, diminish, even though normally we should have 20. So we're currently short 3. But because of the MOUs and the understanding that we have with all these departments, the services that an investor gets by coming to our office is good as them going to that place. And then the top line, those are our employees here at Zida, or full-time Zida employees. So we're at 41 in the first quarter, that has grown to 65 at the end of the quarter. I think by the end of the year, those numbers wouldn't change, are not going to change much. I think important to note here is that the departments that I spoke about earlier on, the way that we've structured things here means that there is a lot more focus. But one thing that was evident is that we also needed the hands and the people to actually do the work. So the numbers have grown through that. And then I just want to speak a little bit about our platforms that we launched. So we had the mining matchmaking platform, which we are grateful for your support when we launched it in the publication that it got. I think the response has been great. If you go to the next slide, just to see the stats on that. So with mining, what we found is that there is a lot of informality of the people that actually do a lot of the mining here. So the paperwork to actually upload this, and even perhaps the confidence in logging onto an ICT platform, I think was a bit daunting to think some of them. But nonetheless, so we've got some figures here. I hope you can see it. So we do have in graphite, number of claims that have been uploaded is 19. And then the average size of each claim there is 119 hectares. So these are not small things that we're talking about. Manganese, we had 6 uploaded. Total number of hectares for those 6 is 126. And lithium, we've got 5 claims that have been uploaded. The total number of hectares is 121. On this one, I'm glad to say that we are close actually to closing one of the biggest tie-ups through this platform. Our visit to Australia did bear fruit in that regard, and so we're hoping that we'll close this before at the end of the year. So in the quarter also we launched the tourism matchmaking platform. It was just into the fourth quarter. But anyway, I think it's also good because it's something that we have done. So this was launched in Bulawayo about 3 weeks ago in the Sanghanai annual conference for the tourism industry. And again, it's the same sort of principle where we are saying that any tour operator or anyone in the tourism space who's looking for an investment for their project, and the tourism sector is broken down into so many sub-sectors. So it just goes beyond air travel, hotels, lodges, even things like entertainment, casinos, nightclubs, and restaurants, tour operators, and so forth. So the idea was the same again, that if anyone was in that space, was looking for an investor, was looking for capital in whatever shape or form for their business, upload your project there. The difference that I would say for the mining claims is that for the mining claim, you actually need to have a claim, and you needed to verify whether that claim was authentic or not. So the mining certificate, the details they had to match what the Minister of Mines had. But with tourism industry, a lot of these things are these projects that we've seen are greenfield, some are just ideas. So in this case, it's more of a business plan that we want to see from the promoters. And what we found again is that it's a more formalized industry. So someone who's going to do a lodge, even say in the Eastern Highlands, most likely is going to register a company, will own the land, and will have some sort of business plan. So since we've launched it, I'm glad to say that we've had 11 claims uploaded, or projects uploaded by municipal authorities. So that slide I showed you of the distribution of the investments from the various provinces. We do work a lot with the local authorities, rural district councils, the provincial governments, and so forth. And what we always say to them is that show us what you want investors to be aware of in the province. So you find that in the tourism space, a lot of these rural district councils do have a huge tracts of land. So if you're talking of much north, the Big Falls, Wangi area, those sort of places, and even in the low veld, and even up north in the marshes and so forth, there is a lot of land there where the authorities would like investments, be it in tourism, in lodges, in safaris, and so forth. So from the local authorities, we've got 11. One person wants to go to tour operator. And then 6, I think just general that it's a business that people have that are not really, that have not really taken off and so forth. Yeah. So I'd say that that really, so those are the 2 sectors that we started with. Our intention is to cover all the sectors that we believe that there is DCM by the players in that sector to attract investment into their business. So naturally things like agriculture coming, renewable energy is another one that we're seeing, and then manufacturing also is another one. We will also launch similar platforms. So we'll do our studies, and when we're ready, we'll then go into all of those. Our journey also to modernize and make it in life easier for the investor continues. I think at the beginning of the year or end of last year, I think it was taking an investor upwards of 21 days to get a Zida license, which essentially means that if you're a foreign investor and you come into the country, you have to register a company to then get the Zida license, and then there were all sorts of other permits. Nowadays, we're down to 2 days on that. And so the next step for us is to then enable the investor, wherever they are, on their internet-connected device, to log into our website and actually start and finish the process. And the license will actually have a QR code printed right there. To the extent that even by the time someone actually flies into Zimbabwe and lands at our airport, their Zida investment license will have been done. If they need assistance with immigration for the employees and so forth, all of that will have been done. So teachers here is promising us that they're actually doing the tests right now to do that. So I'm putting pressure on him and his team to make sure that happens. Okay. Yeah, so really I think that's the last of the slide. So really, we just need to thank you for coming, and the report, we keep improving it all the time, and we do welcome where you are not clear of certain things as you read through the report. But what I've taken you through here, I'll say that those are the key highlights, and they also speak to the job that we have as a country. I'll just reiterate again that for us, the focus is to engage the local businessmen more. We believe that a lot of room exists for us to attract domestic investment, because domestic investment is more stable, it stays longer in a country, and it's not susceptible to flight as foreign investment. But otherwise, thank you all for coming. We are available for questions or comments for the next, I don't know how many minutes. Thank you.
So thank you, Tafazo, and thank you everyone for your attention. We're just going to allow about 10 minutes of questions to be thrown to either management or Tafazo sitting here, focusing specifically on the report. And like I said, if anybody has got a question outside of the report, we will be available once the press con is done. So if you just give us your name and which media house you're from, and then we'll be able to table the questions. We'll take 3 questions at a time so that we do this faster. We've got Swithin in the room, and we've got a question right at the back.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hilary from Mine, Zimbabwe. My question is on mining. And you said we have some mines that we have. And the question is, it is on exploration. And you find exploration, most of the small scale miners don't get the exploration, or they don't have the financial capacity to do exploration. And exploration actually increases the country's capital account. How best are you going to engage exploration companies so that these mines can attract investors? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Owen Mandova from ZBC. CEO, there's a concern that the licensing framework under Zida is a little bit fragmented, because I can relate. There are several projects which are taking, for example, 2 years before a license is issued. And I do understand that when Zida was formed, I think one of the targets which was actually put in place was to ensure that the licensing period or the turnaround is shorter. Can you just tell us the average number of days or months or weeks that it is taking Zida to license projects and what are you doing to make sure that you make your license deployment more efficient? Thank you.
We'll just take one more question, Sweden, if you've got.
Good afternoon. I'm Ramesh Green, the Coastal Sunday newspaper. I'm quite impressed with the figures. You highlighted in the introduction that it was meant to give clarity to the figures. What I'm failing to understand now is Zida, are you tracking this or these investments that you mentioned around the country as to how they are benefiting the locals or even the financial institutions to see if they are helping in any way or if there is development in any way, or rather it's just investment on paper which is not showing any signs or rather giving employment to the local people? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, very good questions. Yeah, so let's start with the mining one. Right. So part of why we did the matchmaking platform is that someone just holding a claim, yes, the motivation I think for most people at the beginning is that they believe that there's something down there. How much exactly there is unknown. So the exploration is expensive. Yes, you are right. But done properly, it establishes true value. And it's something that can then be marketed. So you'll find that for big mining projects, exploration can take up to 5 years. I mean, we've seen already with the Zimbabwean oil and gas project, how long that is taking. That's your typical thing. So even the big mines that we have at Zimbabwe, those 2 years to explore. But you can imagine with a small claim holder, right? That's a very expensive exercise. You are literally just pumping money for the first 3-4 years and nothing has happened. So what we are advising a lot of the people who are uploading their claims onto our platform is that we are working with consultants who we will introduce them to say that to add more value or capital stock, as you put it, to your claim or to your holding or to your asset, is that you need to establish a little bit more what it's worth. Because it's only when that is done. So you imagine just imagine someone's got a gold claim, all right? Okay, maybe there's a seam that's running through there. Maybe it's known that around that area there is gold. But it's a different thing altogether. If someone can scientifically prove that at this claim there is verifiable scientific data to suggest that there's 3 million ounces of gold down there. Now you can imagine what that does with the value of that claim. So that's what we're trying to get. And the investors that we met in Australia, it was quite a learning experience, because Australia, especially in Perth, it's a mining town. And they know everything about mining, from exploration right through to the mining processing and so forth. So those are the things that they were asking, that look, these claims that you're showing us, we need data, we need information, right? It reduces the risk for any investor knowing that some exploration is being done. So what we encourage you, especially those who just get claims or who just done the very basic exploration or geological surveys, is to say that if you believe that your claim is big enough, why don't you invest, or your first stage to developing your mind should be that raising money to do proper exploration. So it's something that we've taken note of and cognizant of, and if anything else, at least at that stage, if it's done properly, we believe that our people will benefit much more financially than just selling a claim with a basic geological survey. I hope I've answered. And then the fragmented part. Yeah, so Owen, yes, I think let's also be clear here, right? So if you were to, so a typical investor, when they come to Zimbabwe, a foreign one, say, the first stop is obviously here, because they don't know where to go. They have to register a local company, and once that local company has been registered, then they can start applying for other permits. So for us, at the very first stage, the first contract for us, we can be done with that investor in 2 days. issuing them a Zida license, registering a company for them, opening a bank account for them, registering them with Zimbra, right? That's the basic stuff. So normally, again, the argument goes that for a local investor, a local business, they can do that on their own. They don't need Zida to do that. So this is where the local business people don't see the value of coming through to Zida. So now that we're established, or we are set up, we now want to start doing a business. Obviously, you are going to, if it's mining or if it's construction, you are going to need various permits, right? We can't run away from that. What helps here in Zida is that you don't have, if you want to put up a hotel, say in the Big Falls, or here in Harare, you want to put up a conference center here, say, the city council has to give you permits. The EMA has to do all those things. So there are various permits which I think are part and parcel of doing business in that sector, right? But for that foreign investor, we have literally, they just come here and we take them to all those places. Obviously, things like environmental impact assessments are going to take time. If you're going to do a mine that's going to affect maybe 3,000 hectares of pristine environment or woodland, EMA is going to do that. They're going to be consultation with the locals and so on. So those are the things. But to just get you ready to start to do your business, with us it won't take you more than 1 week. We can actually do that. But the very first ones, setting up a company, registering with Zimbra, bank account, in Zida license, that can take 2 days. But each industry obviously is different, and you will have to go through that. Getting permits even for a solar project or even for a mine, those things are going to take time because there's various other players there. What we are doing, however, is that so our collaboration against these MOUs that we keep signing, is that we do recognize that, look, does it really dare to take 6 months for someone to get a permit to open a restaurant in Harare, say, maybe this is where we are not talking to the council more directly to say that what are the bottlenecks? Why is it that when someone is now ready to go, it's going to take them another 6 months before they open their doors to do business? But we are working on those things. And then the last question I think was on tracking the benefits. Yeah. So like I said, so the number is, so the 180 licenses that we issued and the $3.4 billion speak to the intention, right? The employee numbers that you've seen grow was to really enable us to be able to monitor how these investments are actually doing. We do that for 2 reasons. I think the first one is the question that was asked, that what is the real benefit of all of these investors? When an investor comes into the country and they're filling out that application form, they speak of all the good things that this investment is going to do to the country. It's going to create employment, it's going to integrate it in the local economy, they're going to use local suppliers, they're going to alleviate maybe some ills that we've got as a country and so forth. But obviously at that point it's only intention. So we are not longer waiting for the 2 years to find a real license to really know how that investor has settled. So part of the role of that one-stop services center is what we call establishment. This is really settling in an investor. So they've got all the permits, now they started doing work. This is when now they start encountering other hurdles we have. So we want to monitor them for the difficulties that they're finding doing business in the economy, and also exactly how much they've done. We've got NASA people, a NASA person here, so through NASA we can also establish the number of jobs that they've established and so forth. So the system that we're putting in place will be able to monitor from the day that we issue a license and every day after that. As and when they bring in their capital, they employ someone, our MOU with NASA, our systems are going to be linked automatically. The two of us will let each other that this investor who is in Djibouti is now, this month, has employed 6 people. Next stage, you obviously to say that where they're sourcing the raw materials, maybe they're now using the local economy. What are the impacts they've done. But those things take time, and we have to develop systems that are smart enough and efficient enough to pick up these things. I will say though, for public-private partnerships, where we are really tasked by government to ensure that these, from the initiation stage to the approvals that they get, we are responsible for that. So we have to report to cabinet as frequently as possible of the performance of those things. And our latest reports are actually showing the things that you're speaking about. But these are big, multiple, hundreds of $1 million worth of projects. So they things like, so with the Triple P, normally there's an agreement between the government party to that agreement and the private player. And so we are verifying or reviewing how each party has lived up to their obligations as per that agreement. And normally in those things, they do speak about things like employment, benefit to the local economy, and the reports that we give to the Triple P committee, which then goes to cabinet, do speak of that. But for our general investments, it's obviously a bit more taxing for us, and our staff that have come in are still finding, learning the ropes. But we believe that this time next year, the sort of information that we'll be sharing with you, once our systems are built and the integration is now taken root with all our cooperating parties, we will be able to share with you that information. And you are right, this is why Zida was set up. It's not to just bring in investment, but there is development in our name as well, that we do want to see this investment result in actual benefit to the country, the economy. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Dylan is my name. Just want to make a question relating to matchmaking during the Africa Down Under conference. Just want to understand, with only just 2 months before the year ends, what numbers are we looking at, and what stage is this transaction reached?
Please.
Thank you. My name is Conrad Manawashi from Maricho Magazine. We focus on agriculture, energy, and environment. I'm keen to get a bit of information from the numbers on agriculture that you put in, whether these applications really are within the primary agriculture or value addition, or are they to do with planted equipment? Thank you.
So if I would start with the matchmaking one. Yeah, so the process of the tie-up in mining, it's quite involved. It's not as easy as saying, but I guess all tie-ups are complicated. But with mines, there's issue of verification, right? So the claim holder has uploaded information on that, right? And I think as the earlier question highlighted, it's not really incomplete information as far as an investor is concerned. Because yes, the paperwork might be there, but any investor wants to part money with some certainty that they will find something, and how much of that they're going to find. So you are going to find that there's going to be a lot of inquiries, there's going to be a lot of questions, there's going to be a lot of verification, right? So this is why part of the exercise that we're doing is that before someone uploads, we really want to help them to enhance their appeal or the information that they have regarding the claim that they possess, right? So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. It will just ensure that. But in terms of numbers by the end of the year, I'm certain that the ones we picked up in Australia, we should close those ones. But those are quite material. Those are quite big claims. We're talking of claims that could rival perhaps some of the big mines that we have here. So that's the sort of interest we've got. But to get to that stage is that the promoters that uploaded those claims are also quite formal as well. So they had done a bit of work. Yeah, so the verification, I guess, will still have to be done. I mean, no investor is just going to take your word for it. Which is why, again, when it comes to international investors into mining on a platform like this, who has done that surveying or establishment of the resource underground is also very important. So there are certain companies or firms that investors trust that if that work is done by this company, then it's as good as gold. That they might not have to do so much verification themselves. But obviously now that costs money, that someone has to pay these international firms that kind of money. It does give the promoter some assurance if local geologists and surveyors do initial work, I think just to give you confidence that the chances of the ore underground, being of the quantities that are economically viable, I think that does help, and it might give you the impetus to raise money locally and then engage these international firms for a much more thorough geological survey. Right. In terms of agriculture, so when we do our classification, so the projects essentially will have to be primarily agriculture. So this is someone planting things in the ground and running a farm. So that's generally the agriculture that we look at. If it's manufacturing of other forms and so forth of equipment, then we classify that separately. So we will see if it's agriculture, essentially it is primarily agriculture.
Do we have any other questions? If we don't have any other questions in the room, I would like to say thank you on behalf of Tafadzwa and his team from ZEDA for coming through today just to hear what work ZEDA is doing. We hope that we keep engaging most of you through our different platforms. We are connected with a number of you on all our social media platforms. If you're not connected to us, please make an effort to accept our request to connect to you so that we can keep you informed about what's going on. Additionally, our Q3 highlights will be featured in a number of media houses over the next few days, and we're hoping that we'll be able to continue the engagement as we go forward. So this is a special thank you from ZEDA for our first press con held here at ZEDA, and we look forward to engaging more in the near future. Judith, in the back of house over there, should have shared with all of you a report, the Q3 report. If you haven't received it, please let her know. She will make relevant arrangements for you to get a hard copy of it. And then just before you leave, please help yourselves to some refreshments and have a chat. Like I said, Tafadzwa is here to have a chat with yourselves, but it will have to be on a first-come, first-served basis after you've got approval through Judith so that we don't crowd and we allow that. So it's only going to be about 10 minutes. To be honest, he is tired, but we will let you have the chat with him. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to our next engagement.